Build 42 has arrived, and with it has come a wave of both brand new and returning players. So in today's video, I'll be aiming to help you survive your first day in the new update, whether you're a complete newbie or a seasoned veteran. The idea of this video will be to take you along with me as I survive my first day in a new playthrough on Build 42, talking through all my decisions as I make them, what I might be choosing to focus on, and some general tips related to new features in the update as I'm experiencing them in real time. Hopefully you find this video useful. I'm working on a bunch of other videos for Build 42 right now, so if you want to see more of this kind of thing after watching, just let me know in the comments. Without further ado, this is how to survive your first day in Build 42. Okay, so we are going to be jumping in, and the idea of this video is going to be sort of like just talk about my decisions on the first day and helping you guys at home with the best strategies for the first day. Obviously, this is a little bit different to what I usually do, so it might not be like, you know, quite as thought out and as punctual, but hopefully you enjoy this new format, and it'll be interesting for you guys to like sort of hear what I'm thinking at the time in which I'm making decisions. This is a really nice thing straight away about Build 42. If you're brand new to the game, you can now use the map itself when you're ready to spawn in to give you just a general idea of where you are on the map. You can't really plan much with it. There are some key locations, like, you know, if we go to Muldraw here, you can see where the police department is. You can see the gas station is right on the south end. So that kind of information can be good just to know right off rip. We're gonna pick Rosewood as our first location. It's a tried and true classic for Project Zomboid and is known to be the easiest location for new players. That said, we now have Echo Creek, which is new, and I think could be in serious contention. It doesn't have quite as many useful locations to it, in my opinion, but it's a lot more rural, and it could offer a lot more in the way of like a beginner-friendly experience to just finding your feet. I'm intrigued to see if that takes over Rosewood, but we're going to go with Rosewood to start with. When it comes to picking your first occupation, I am a big advocate for new players to start with custom occupation, or what used to be called unemployed. Reason for that is you get a bunch of trait points, and with the new build, you actually, like, a lot of the negative traits have been nerfed, and you do actually need to take some serious negatives to gain positives. So having that 8 free points is going to be really good for you, and also it will allow you to put some points into things that will directly impact combat. And combat, when you're starting out, is going to be one of the most difficult things that you can learn. You will need time to figure it out. So any leg up that you can get for combat early game is going to be really appreciated. So we're going to take Slow Healer, Weak Stomach, and Prone to Illness. These are like 3 traits that I still think are pretty much free points. Now, you might want to go as a new player, you might want to go without Slow Healer. Depends how likely you think you are to get injured. Personally, I find that injuries, if you're likely to sustain them, they're probably going to be bites anyway, and you're going to want to restart your game. 9 times out of 10, if you get injured, it's going to be a zombie infection, and that's probably going to be GG for you, at least in my experience. So these are 3 that I like to start with. Slow Healer is optional. Cat's Eyes has gotten a lot stronger now because night is a lot more harsh in Build 42, but also more atmospheric. Is very, very cool. From here, we still have 16 points to spend as unemployed. Now, again, we're focusing on the early game experience, so we could get things like carpentry, sure. Why, you know, that would be great. But realistically, if you're only surviving like a week, 2 weeks, there's really no need. We can focus more on the stuff that's going to give you a boost in the early game. So we're going to take Brave, and we're going to take Strong. And there is a reason behind that. Muscle Strain is a new mechanic to Project Zomboid. We'll go over that in a bit more detail soon. But Strength, along with 2 other things, will impact how much muscle strain you gain. Strength seems to be, we're still figuring it out right now, but it seems to be the least effective for muscle strain. More so, things like weapon skill and the weight of the weapon seem more impactful than strength, but it's still nice to have. It will also increase your carry weights, it will increase knockback from melee weapons, and the more strength you have, the more damage you'll do. So it's great. It's a good one to get early on. That's going to leave us with 2 points, and really, this can go anywhere. It's not like a huge deal. I think I'm going to go for Fast Reader, but really the choice is yours. If you're wondering why we've taken some of these perks, Brave is one I didn't really talk through. Brave is basically responsible for reducing panic. Panic in general is a negative thing because the more panicked you are, the less accurate you will be with weapons. Therefore, the more hits it will take, the more muscle strain you will build, and the more likely you are to be overwhelmed. So again, for new players, Brave can be very handy for just learning combat mechanics. Random player, doesn't really matter too much, but let's find something we like. That'll do nicely, and we'll get a full beard. Why not? Now, I've got somebody, we are streaming this on Twitch as well, and I've got somebody asking about the traits Smoker, Hard of Hearing, and Conspicuous. So Hard of Hearing, I would advise against for new players. Also, from a pure viewing perspective, me taking Hard of Hearing on this particular run is probably not advisable because it's not enjoyable for viewers, but I wouldn't advise it for new players because it is a little bit of a handicap. Smoker is an option, sure. It does give you 2 more items to look out for, and it has been nerfed in build 42, so it doesn't really give you as many trait points. It is an option, definitely. And Conspicuous, I would advise against taking Conspicuous right now until we know a little bit more about like zombie aggro mechanics. Zombie aggro and awareness has changed in build 42, and sneaking is very viable now. I don't know how Conspicuous is going to affect that currently, so I wouldn't just default to it until we know a little bit more. In build 41, it didn't do it really, yeah, it didn't do anything. It just increases the speed at which they would spot you, but realistically the difference is like a couple seconds, so it didn't really make any difference at all. But we're not sure like how that will work with build 42, so need to know a little bit more before I advise that one. Okay, let's jump in. Okay, so we have 1 hour days, so we need to make the most of our time. I'm gonna turn this TV right down because that will draw zombies. Now straight away when you jump in, the cook show will be on Life and Living. It is up to you whether you want to watch this or not. Not a huge deal, but if you really want to min-max, we can watch this show right away. Take 5 minutes of our time, less than, and we'll gain a little bit of cooking XP right out of the gate. You have 2 options when it comes to Life and Living. You can either watch it at the start and gain the XP early, or you can choose not to watch it at all and go for getting the VHS tapes later once you've had a chance to read skill books that will give you multipliers to XP. Those are your 2 choices. Me personally, I always like to watch Life and Living early because the boost early game is very, very helpful, but later on you will still find that like you've got most of the skills you need to do the tasks you want to do, and you can farm XP later. So that's taken all of a couple of minutes. The times for Life and Living that you need to be aware of are 6 a.m. for the cooking show, midday for carpentry, and 6 p.m. for the exposure survival show, which is like loads of different types of skills like farming and anything to do with survival, fishing, that kind of thing. Obviously, like straight away, we want to start by looting the spawn house. We've got a t-shirt here, which I'm going to rip into some rags straight up. Also in build 42, we get given a pistol straight out of the gate. Now, me personally, I'm going to throw this away because obviously it won't be here forever. It's just for testing purposes. So right now it's kind of, we don't want you to get comfortable with that. So we've ripped some stuff up for rags. These can be used as bandages should we get an injury. And if you didn't know, there's something new that's been added in build 42. You can now turn a sheet into a sheet sling bag, which straight away you can just pull down some curtains and we've got a backpack just like that. Really, really handy thing to know. And just like that, we've got 12 more carry weight. There will never be zombies in your spawn house as well if you're in single player. You don't need to worry about that. Okay, we've got a key. So this is a great opportunity for me to talk about keys. Keys now like have weight to them in build 42. So when we find a key, straight away, I'm gonna go with a naming convention for them to help me track where they are, right? So we're in Rosewood as our location, the spawn area. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rename this key R1. Rosewood 1. And this is the only way that I've really found that we can keep on top of these new keys. There are already mods out there that will allow you to remove the weight from keys that work with build 42. We're going to take a pencil. That will now allow me to mark my map. That's a nice find. And we found a plunger, which isn't a great weapon, but it is still a weapon. I am assuming that this key will probably work for this building, but it's not necessarily true in build 42. There's a lot more randomization with keys now, especially if you find them on a zombie. The zombie could just have wandered from wherever they spawned. That key could be more related to their spawn location and not be very useful to you. So that's why we have this new system for like renaming them. Lead pipe. Okay, that's a good find. That's a more reliable weapon. We are, however, going to keep the plunger. Even if it's not a great weapon, we're going to keep it as a spare, just in case. Lots of camera film down here. So nothing really else for us to use, but we've got our first weapon. So all we're doing is searching the building. We're focusing on finding something that we can arm ourselves with. Now, there is nothing wrong with us using this as a temporary safe house to start with. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to explore our local area. This is going to be our temporary safe house. Now, we've confirmed that this building is where the key R1 is used. So straight away, I can mark on my map that this is R1. And we'll put a little home symbol as well, because it's our safe house. Okay, so we're going to keep our first day very simple. We're essentially just going to loot the nearby area, check out the neighbors' houses, and see what we can find. We don't need to get too complex with our first day. Now, fences. Probably shouldn't have hopped that fence. The fences can offer you a very good way to reduce the amount of muscle strain you are building. Every action I take, like jumping fences, fighting zombies, is going to build muscle strain. But by using fences, we can reduce the amount of muscle strain that's building up. We now know that this key is R2. So again, R2. Just like that. Really simple system to track your keys. I'm going to turn the Life and Living show on just in case the carpentry show begins while I'm here. We're looking for a watch, which would allow us to keep an eye on the time. Some boots here with some higher protection. We'll slightly reduce my run speed. Life and Living's on now, so this is the most important one. Is at the door, so we've got a minute. This is the most important one of the lot because it's going to build our carpentry level, and carpentry leads into a lot of new crafting stuff as well as stuff you'll be familiar with from Build 41 if you've played it before. A lot of stuff to do with animal husbandry, for example, which is new in Build 42, requires carpentry to build certain things that your animals will need. So again, we kind of want to get that nice and early if we can. Let's deal with this zombie now. Now, I wouldn't have to fight this guy if I don't want to, really. We've got a little bit of time with this door. You can see how I'm stomping on the zombies to preserve a little bit of my weapon durability. That can opener is massive for us. We're going to take the bologna because it's fresh food, and we'll eat that as we go. Now, this is another thing. We're going to grab a couple of cans if we find them, but early on, I'm not going to focus too much on grabbing things like tinned food. We're going to focus on eating the fresh stuff and bringing that with us, and we're not going to carry too much food around with us because right now, there's really no need. I can come back for that tinned food anytime. Killers, good item. Tweezers, good item. We can use that to remove glass from the body, and this one will obviously reduce pain, which would be good if we build up too much muscle strain. Yeah, we're not going to carry too much food around with us because we want to focus more on the stuff that's going to be essential to our survival, and food at this time can be found pretty much anywhere. We are going to take this pillow, however. Really important, when you sleep with a pillow, you can see we get sleep, comfort, good with pillow. So we get a bonus for having a pillow. Now we can just take that and we'll throw it on our bed at base, and that'll be it. Or we can take it around with us and deploy it whenever we need it by placing it on a bed. And again, I'm just searching everything right now. If we had smoker, there's a lighter here with a tiny bit of fuel. We've already found some cigarettes downstairs, so smoker in this run would have played out pretty nicely, but that's okay. Not really losing anything. The zombies here, nothing too strenuous. And you will notice this as well. In Build 42, your spawn areas in general will have less zombies. The way that Build 42 has changed zombie distribution is quite heavy. In spawn areas like this, it's suburban. We've got like a few zombies here, but easy enough to avoid them, especially with how their aggro has been changed. And I'll get into that in a little bit more detail soon. But your spawn areas will be a little bit quieter. Now, high loot areas are busier than ever. And as we get into like high streets and stuff like that, there will be a lot more zombies. The idea is that, you know, we can loot our nearby buildings and not really have to worry too much. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about whether we miss the stuff that's on the survival show at 6 p.m. It would be nice to catch it. It is a nice bonus, but it's not something I have to worry about too much at this time because those skills are more for long-term survival, and we aren't going to worry about that too much in this run because we're a new player gaining some experience with the game. We are going to take the wood saw. That's going to give us the capability to saw up some planks. Now we just need an axe and we'll be able to get some planks. Great way to level carpentry, but more importantly, we can barricade our home. We would also need nails and a hammer to do that. So zombie aggro has also been changed in Build 42. They are definitely not as easy to pull their attention nowadays. Where's that guy? Looking for the rock on the door. He's not there. Significantly more difficult to pull their attention, which is good. Gives us more options. We can sneak around a little bit more. You can see these two zombies are like right out on the lawn and they're not even phased right now. Now I did notice that the heart symbol up here just shook a little bit, which means we had a little bit of muscle strain just kicking in. Though I am keeping an eye on this. Now there's a few zombies building up, so I think we're gonna make a decision here and we're gonna back out. And that is one of the most important things about Project Zomboid, especially in the early stages, is make a decision quickly. Don't hesitate. I don't want to decide to fight those zombies and then get overwhelmed. My decision there was there are 2 out the front that I'm likely to aggro. There are at least 2 outside this window. That's 4. I don't really want to fight them, so we're gonna move on, okay? And it's as simple as that. I don't need to run. I don't need to panic. I don't need to waste like gaining fatigue. Don't need to worry about that. Build up more muscle strain. We're just gonna change direction and go loot a different building. That's it. Take a little snack. Muscle strain is going to be a very tough mechanic for a lot of people, and I think generally speaking the biggest thing about it is just to take things a little slower. Make sure you're resting if you start to build muscle strain. Take smaller fights and think about what you're doing. You don't necessarily need to take all these fights. You can sneak around. That said, there is a zombie there that I like the look of. They've got a couple backpacks on them and I might be interested in trying to gain those, right? Getting thirsty, so we're going to dip into home base here and get a drink real quick. So we're going to try and pull some of these zombies away one by one, and I'll demonstrate how to do that here in a second. I want to rename that key that we got to R3, and I believe the residence was this one, if I'm not mistaken. So we're on to the next one. I've seen some zombies I like with stuff that I want, and we're going to take them. Before I do that, just to demonstrate here, we have a new flyer. These are new in build 42. Really cool. Not just for show though. There is something that's actually useful about these. This little button down the bottom right will bring up your map, and we'll show you where that location on the map is. That is now permanently discovered for me. It will always be on my map as discovered. I can discard this now. I have learned something. I know there is a gun range over in Echo Creek, and I know where it is. I could mark that on the map if I wanted to. Now that I've found it, I could draw on my map and add their guns or something and just show that now I know where it is. Again, we're just using a fence to minimize how many hits we need to take. I'm gonna keep the health tab on screen. The reason I'm going to keep the health tab up is we're just going to keep an eye on the muscle strain. If you're a little bit worried about that, you're going into a situation where you're going to be taking on multiple zombies, just pull up your health panel and keep an eye on the muscle strain, and you'll see that I'm just, every time I get aggro, I'm just backing up. I'm pulling one away, I'm backing up a little bit. We've got a couple others there. I don't know if they've been aggroed yet. Zombies have a little bit of a variation in speed now in build 42. Looks like this one's seen me. She's about to if she hasn't. We're just pulling them away one by one, so we might be able to get a bit closer now safely. If I want to preserve my weapon's durability a little bit, I can push them over instead. We do want to keep an eye on the weapon durability, but right now it's not even phased. No damage to the condition at all. Now there's one of the zombies with a backpack. That is the one we want. I'm after the backpack. Backpack is a very useful item early on, and then we can get back to looting our local area. It really is no more complicated than that. We're not doing any big loot runs on day one. We're just looking for the basics. Now, if you see that top right there, the new Moodle just came up. That's just letting me know that there's a bad smell. If I were to stay in this area for too long, that would result in my character feeling a little bit sick and potentially getting corpse sickness, which we want to avoid. But it's, generally speaking, that doesn't kick in for a while, so we should be fine. Now we have a vehicle key here, I believe. Wrecked dash bull driver. So this is a survivor zombie. These are really good to come across early on. We have some very useful items on them a lot of the time. So again, muscle strain's not really kicking in yet. A lot of people are very not much enjoying the new muscle strain mechanic, but so far I've not had too many issues with it, as long as we take things a little bit slower. You're not going in fighting big hordes right from the get-go, you'll be fine. So we're upgrading to a bigger bag here that will reduce encumbrance a little bit more. So the encumbrance reduction is 70% with this new one. My current one is only 60%, and it carries more weight, so it's a straight upgrade. Now we have a new bag. I know that I'm going to need all of this. I really don't think we need seed packets right now. We can read this map. for Louisville North, and then drop the map, because we're not going to need it anymore. That will be permanently marked on our map from here. Hunting vest does give us a bit of protection. It would probably make me very warm, though. We're going to collect the pipe wrench. We've got a fanny pack here, the extra container. Usually I use these to carry essentials. Things like medical supplies tends to be my first go-to. So I'll put my tweezers, my painkillers, my alcohol wipes. Will all of it fit? No. Okay, so we need to ditch one rag. That's fine. And we'll put our alcohol wipes in there. And that's it. And that will reduce encumbrance by 85% for anything that's in there. So you could use that for different items. I like to use it for medicals, whatever you fancy. I'm going to take another bite to eat here. Don't want to get too hungry. The reason behind that is that if our weight is going down and it goes below 75, then we will become low weight, which can affect our stats. We want to keep it between 75 and 80 is the sweet spot. Okay, so we've set off a house alarm. This could be a disaster. House alarms are your biggest threat early on. So straight away, I've made a very quick decision that I want to get out of there. I do not want to hang around. I do not want to wait to see if it's okay. We are getting out of here right away. And immediately, I'm only going to have to deal with zombies from one direction. Now, if I had a minute, I would try and grab some sheets and maybe put them over this window so that I wouldn't get spotted. The other option is obviously we can use the basement to cut off the zombies' line of sight. But if they don't see us, they won't aggro. So we just give it a minute, let those zombies wander in. And these annotated maps that I'm reading now are useful as well. Sort of give us a little bit of an update here. So this is probably going to be like a survivor house. Good, secure houses, but be careful clearing backyards. We can use that info if we want to. Kind of not important to me right now, so we don't need to worry too much. Let's wander upstairs. One broken window. Now that's a bit of a pain, because that's leaving me open to zombie attack in the night. But it's not the end of the world. We do have other things that we can do. Shut the bedroom doors and everything. Hopefully we get the chance to get some stuff to barricade our windows. It is not the end of the world. Now, I'm going to take a look and see how many zombies have been pulled by that alarm. So you can see immediately, even just looking at this side of the building, we made the right decision getting out of there when we did. House alarms, deadly, and we do not want to risk it at this stage. So instead, we're going to take a different direction. We're going to go down here and we're going to loot these buildings. And now we know that house is alarmed. That house, I believe, I'll probably have to come back and confirm this in the editing. I believe that house would be alarmed until the power goes off. So a handful could be used to plant crops, but not really something we're worried about right now. Now the basement. Now let's see here. Is this open? It is. Can we use scotch for this? I'm not 100% sure. So you need alcohol for this, but I don't think this one works. There are certain types of alcohol that we can use to disinfect rags, which will reduce the chances of an infection, and is also useful if you have an infected wound to get rid of that infection. Alternative options include boiling water and disinfecting rags that way. We did have somebody in chat saying that that no longer works in build 42. If that is the case, I would assume that is a bug and will be fixed. Okay, we have a screwdriver here. Screwdrivers are very useful items for a lot of crafting, and also on top of that can be used with cars. A lot of mechanics work requires screwdrivers, and they're pretty lightweight to carry. I'm going to take this extra steel bar here, check on my lead pipe. Oh, it's doing great, no trouble at all. Now, gathering extra weapons early on is, in my opinion, one of the best things that you can do in the early game. Gathering just a couple of extra weapons. Some weapons, unlike this lead pipe, you will break very quickly, especially if you're unlucky with your finds early on. Things like rolling pins, things like pans, stuff like that are not designed for combat and will break quite easily. So having these spares is going to be very useful. Here we go. Blue and red pen. Excellent. That's better for our map marking. Priorities. Obviously not a massive thing for some players. I personally like to mark my map and use them. Not everybody cares. So we don't have too much food back at base, so I am going to grab this canned food. But again, we don't want to worry about it too much. See, all of this here, I'm actually going to make the decision at this point that I'm going to get rid of these canned items. So I've not got too much carry weight available in my backpack. I'm instead going to grab all of these items that will go out of date. I can come back for these canned foods anytime I like. Water bottle is huge. huge. This is one of the most important items early on. Having this in your direct inventory, which means it has to be in this top box here, my character will drink from this automatically. I can fill it at a sink, should it have been used already, and I can use it anytime I like to top up my water. Again, early on, my weight's still going down, so I can really pig out and just eat what I find right now. I'm gonna make a bowl of cereal with this stuff on the table. All of this stuff is gonna go out of date soon. Using it early, keep my character gaining weight. We have nothing to lose. While we've got a moment here, we can talk about our carry weight. So as you can see, my backpack is pretty much full. So now anything else that I want to carry has to go in my direct inventory. And the way the backpack works is it basically reduces the weight of anything that's put in it. But if I start overloading my main inventory, we will start to have issues. So I can carry like a couple of extra things here. We can actually pick up the tinned food that we put away before, and we're still fine right now. So I think it's about time we go back to base. But basically, if I let this go above 18, my character will start to have issues with carrying things. If I am hungry, especially as it gets worse, if I start to get hungry, that carrying capacity will be reduced. So we want to try and make sure that we're keeping up with that. And if I carry too much weight for too long, I'll start to cause my character some pain. He'll start to take damage. Get an extra backpack here. There's a small backpack. Same as the one we've got. Now, these corpses are going to pose an issue to us at some points because they will stink. Being around them a lot is going to cause me issues. We'll worry about that later. Again, first day. Right now, our main concern is gathering some loot, getting things prepared. We don't need to worry too much about things like that right now. Our priority should be on looting the nearby area, getting as much stuff as we can for surviving these first couple days, going from there. Now, you'll notice I'm using the freezer compartment here. Quite simply, anything that we put in the freezer compartment will last longer, as you would imagine. Now the freezer compartment is going to be smaller, so really I'm only keeping stuff in the fridge that I want to cook very soon. You can just throw stuff straight from the freezer into the oven to defrost it. It will obviously just take a little bit longer to cook. We're going to drop anything that I think I'm not going to immediately need. Things like steel bars. Things like the wood saw, things like extra weaponry. It's all going to be dropped for now. We'll keep some food to keep us going. We have a bookcase in here I can use. Doesn't look like we have a bookcase. This is maybe one upstairs. So we'll say that this container here can hold our books for now. Again, this is just sort of like our temporary base. You can always move later if you would like to. Right now, there's nothing wrong with turning this into our first base. I like to place items just because it looks cool in the environment. You don't have to do that, obviously. There's no benefit to doing so. And we've just narrowed down our inventory quite considerably. We can go looting again. Now, I am worried about all these zombies literally across the street from us that have been brought over by this alarm. So we're gonna try not to draw their attention. That was very poor luck on our part, having that alarm go off so close to home. So it may be in our best interest to look to move sooner rather than later. Interesting. I didn't know that. The doghouse has a pillow. I wonder what the chances of spawn is on that. Doghouses never used to be lootable in Build 41. Also worth checking out these little mailboxes from time to time. They will often have like skill magazines. You might get lucky and find a generator magazine in them, which is obviously going to be huge for later survival. They will teach you how to operate generators. No, water's fine for now. All topped up, no problems. Nothing in here we need. Now, it's getting pretty late. I can tell by the lighting outside. I was hoping to find a watch by now, to be honest, but it is getting dark, which is telling me that it's going to be getting late. Now, normally, I would be looking for a watch ASAP. We can use that to set an alarm to essentially keep us on a decent sleep schedule, which is really, really, really important in the early stages, especially because we want to keep up with those TV shows. We can't do that, of course, if we're sleeping. The one upside of this alarm going off is that it seems to have drawn some zombies to that building away from other areas. I'm gonna keep checking these zombies because I would really, 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 really like to find a watch. A couple zombies here. Okay, so we're starting to get tired, which is how we know it is getting late. So I'm gonna try and kill these zombies as quickly as possible before this tiredness really starts to kick in. The more tired you are, the less damage you will do to zombies. It will take you more hits. Me doing this is obviously going to make me more tired as well. We've got another key here, which I'm guessing might be for this building, but we'll see. We've got some muscle strain kicking in, so we need to keep an eye on that. Nothing in the car of use. We've got a bandage. Ah, a watch. Okay, huge find. Huge find. So now I know it is midnight. So straight away, I'm gonna make the decision to go get some sleep, because if I'm up much longer, I'm gonna miss the TV shows in the morning, and a lot of effort would have been wasted. Now, if I had sheets, extra curtains, I could put them up over the windows. Probably something that I could have done very early would have been going to neighboring buildings and covering the windows with sheets. Now, we've made the decision now, so I'm gonna have to live with it. But on day 2, I think that is gonna be my next priority, is to try and cover my safe house a little bit, cut off their vision of my movements. But for now, we sleep. And hopefully, day 2, we wake up around the right time. So we've missed the Cook show, but we're up at 8 a.m. I could have set an alarm to catch the Cook show on day 2, but I've chosen not to because I think it's more important for me to catch Life and Living at 12 for the carpentry show, and I want to maintain a really good sleep schedule right now. The Cook show is not too important. Cooking is honestly not that key of a skill in Project Zomboid. That is it for day 1. Hopefully you gained something from this. I'm thinking about turning this into 7 days of separate survival guides. If you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments. That's the only way I'll know. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and we will catch you all in the next one.